At Subway, start your day the flavorful way by adding new guacamole to your favorite breakfast sandwich. Perfectly made with a hint of jalapeno, our guacamole turns up the flavor to your breakfast. Try it today on a hot and toasty egg, white, and cheese. Subway, eat fresh.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, a hazy Monday here in Southern California, late July. Dead sports week, dead sports end of the month here. We just had rom-com week on Grantland, which I felt like was a success because Lord knows there wasn't a lot to talk about. Right now we're going to talk to Zach Lowe and then Joe House about tying up some loose ends from the free agency month. And also I want to talk about the World Cup and of basketball and whether anyone actually cares, because I do feel like the only time people care is when we lose. Zach Lowe, you don't really care, right?
I mean, I care because I like basketball and I actually love when I get the chance, the excuse to watch international basketball. I don't care. It's not that I don't care. I don't think people care. I don't think people care. I don't think it moves the needle here. Maybe when we're in the gold medal game, people will tune in. But I remember at my previous job in Sports Illustrated, we went all in trying to live blog games and like analyze how Argentina was going to attack Team USA, and it just didn't get traffic. It didn't get hits, and for whatever reason, I just don't think it resonates here.
But remember, was it the gold medal game Durant was great that whole tournament in 2010. The team kind of revolved around him because LeBron didn't play and Kobe didn't play, and I don't think Wade played either. Durant had what I feel like was the most important 2-week stretch of his career. Before that tournament, you know, he obviously had a ton of promise and he was a potential franchise player and he was scoring, all that stuff. I felt like those were the 2 weeks when his career jumped a level. And, you know, if you look back over the arc of his career, that was like a tipping point tournament for him. And I do feel like it was a big deal at the time. I think I even might have written a column about it. I felt like people were excited that Durant had gone to another level. So maybe we care retroactively if something happens?
I don't know. I bet that the Durant story was big in that tournament because that was also like when he started to be mean. Like when he started making, like, I think he made a throat slash gesture during one game, maybe when we played Turkey where the tournament was. I don't even remember. And so his emergence was big, and the international game is great for him because he can just play power forward all the time where he's just a destructive matchup against anyone. But it was a big deal, and I remember, you know, we won with like our leftover players. You know, Tyson Chandler and Odom were playing center for us. Right. Eric Gordon was on the team. Like, it was our B team, and it was our B team. Like, Rose was there, Westbrook was there. But it was still our B team. But there's not like this groundswell. Like, everyone. Basketball is the second most popular sport in the world. Adam Silver can't get through one press conference without saying that. These tournaments, for whatever reason, haven't worked. And I think that's why they're going to this World Cup rebranding and maybe trying to get the older guys out of the Olympics eventually to make this a big deal, because I just don't think – I think even internationally it's a big deal, but it's like not on the scale that it's talked up as.
See, I agree with all that. The thing that bugs me is that this is great basketball potentially, you know, especially you look at this tournament. It's going to be in Spain. You have a Spanish team that has really had the same nucleus now for almost 10 years. You know, the two Gasol brothers, Calderon, Rubio kind of started working his way in 2008. Sergio Lowe, like, these guys have been playing together for a while. They're going to be in Spain. The atmosphere is going to be off the charts. It's going to be great. I really feel like it's going to be a great experience. And I thought about going. I ultimately decided not to go just because it's when football is starting and my kids are going back to school, all that. The pluses did not outweigh the minuses. But just that atmosphere and seeing somebody like Anthony Davis in that atmosphere and seeing what he's capable of and seeing if this could potentially be his 2 weeks where we remember Anthony Davis in 2014 like we remember Durant in 2010. That's the appeal for me. I think Durant and Davis are the two guys here this time around. What do you think?
Well, and Davis is the reason why you and I disagree a little bit on Kevin Love's absence being a monster deal. I think look, it always hurts when you lack depth at a position, and if we just group bigs into one position, we clearly lack depth after he and Griffin and Aldridge and everyone has withdrawn. But Davis, to me, these are 40-minute games. I love the 40-minute game, baby. Bring on the 40-minute game.
You love it.
Davis is a perfect international center.
I agree.
He can play 35 minutes a game if he stays out of foul trouble, which has been a problem for some of our big men in international play. The Love thing, we can talk about its NBA implications and how insane it is that he withdrew at the last minute, but I don't know. Spain's going to be tough. They're older now, which is a big deal, and we saw with their soccer team what suddenly being older can mean.
You brought in soccer. I liked it. That was impressive.
I watched a little soccer, and
Spain was really good.
Look, it's a false comparison and a ridiculous one, but the Spain thing is irresistible. But I just think with Davis by himself is enough. If Drummond and Cousins and Fareed probably won't make the team, but if one of those guys can spot us 10 to 12 useful minutes a game. I just used the phrase us. That's embarrassing.
No, it's us. It's America. It's your country. You live here.
If we've ever faced Croatia in this tournament, it would get ugly at my house. But I just think Davis is a phenomenon. I'm all in on Anthony Davis. I think we're going to be fine.
So I agree and I disagree. He is a phenomenon. He's the perfect five. You only have 5 fouls in international basketball. We're in Spain. You got both Gasol brothers. And they play well together. The crowd's going to lift them. You mentioned, the big guys they've been talking about. Well, Boogie Cousins. Well, Andre Drummond. All right, let's go through those two. Boogie Cousins. I love him. Just was on the BS report. He was in some big games at Kentucky. He can get there. I don't know if I trust him emotionally in Spain with the refs. Like, there are emotional things about him that have not been solved yet. And now we are counting on him in this Spain game in Spain. So that's one problem. 2, and also not a good defensive player either. Not that Kevin Love is, but he certainly doesn't help on the defensive end. And then you have Andre Drummond, who has never played in a big game in his life, who is like a 30% free throw shooter, who's going to be terrified in these Spain games. Terrified. You can't play Andre Drummond in Spain against the Gasols. That's not going to happen. So I look at this team and I'm like, all right, great. Anthony Davis and Durant, I get it. But if Anthony Davis gets 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes of this game, what happens? Now we're bringing in Cousins? That's our plan?
Well, that's the reason why Duncan stopped playing international basketball is he just got fed up with being in foul trouble all the time. He felt it was called differently. He couldn't stay in games. And, look, Davis is a smart enough player to avoid foul trouble. We'll see how the refs, if it comes down to the U.S. and Spain at some point, we'll see how the refs call it. But, yeah, Drummond has been not a disastrously bad foul-prone player, but 4 fouls per 36 minutes has been his NBA average. And the free throw shooting is fascinating because no one in the NBA can understand why coaches just don't foul him all the time. And I think that will start happening as he becomes a more central offensive player for them.
Yep.
But Euro coaches, international coaches, are way more aggressive and creative about using intentional fouls. And that's actually, I didn't think of that. That's an interesting little subplot.
Yeah, I don't think he can play in that Spain game. And look, Kevin Love, I watched him. I went to the gold medal game against Spain. And I think he played 19 minutes in that game, but they were 19 really big minutes because
Huge.
Chandler couldn't play in that game. And I think he had a 9-9. He didn't, he got eaten up by Powell a little bit, but Powell was at the top of his game in that game. And I felt like Kevin Love was an international 5. I love the thought of him and Davis together with Durant at the 3, with Curry and with Thompson. I felt like that was the crunch time lineup. Harden comes off the bench in the Carmelo role. And then Paul George as your Iguodala, can guard 4 positions, shoot them some threes. We needed those 7 guys. If we had those 7, I tweeted this on Saturday, I don't even care who the other 5 guys are. With those 7, we win the tournament. But now you remove Love, and now it's like a Jenga stack. And now I got to play Paul George at the 4. Now I have to potentially play Chandler Parsons at the 4. The Gasols are going to eat that up. Why do I care? Tell me not to care, and I'll move on.
Well, here's the thing. We win all these tournaments playing small ball, including against Spain in gold medal games. Now, we've had LeBron and some of our bigger stars in those gold medal games, but we still have Durant, who I'm still saying we. My God,
this is a global you pay American world. Taxes. You pay taxes.
I do pay taxes. That's true. Durant is a power forward internationally. Now, Spain is the one team that can, as much as I want to just be rigid about it and say we win this way all the time, Marc Gasol got in foul trouble in the 2012 gold medal game and did not play. He played 17 minutes the whole game. I'm looking at it now. He was 8 of 10 from the floor.
Killed us.
And Boogie on your podcast said Gasol and Randolph are the only guys in the NBA who leave him feeling bruises the next day. So, look, Durant can guard Pau Gasol, and that's what it comes down to for me. Can you guard Pau Gasol with a small ball four? And for us, that's going to be Durant. And I think we can for long enough minutes that this isn't going to be a problem. But if both Gasols are on their game and getting us in foul trouble and banging down low, that's a matchup that's a problem, and that's why this tournament is fun. And look, those gold medal games against Spain have been down to the wire in the fourth quarter for the most part.
Yeah, people forget in 2008 we almost lost. Came very, very close. It was one of the underrated international games that we've played. I think there's a column about it in my archive somewhere because that game was on at like 5 in the morning or some crazy time. Kobe ended up taking over near the end. Then in 2012, as you said, Marc Gasol got in foul trouble. There was a moment in that game where I was petrified with like 6 minutes left. I think it was like I'm going to say like a 4 or 6 point game. We couldn't get LeBron back in because you can't sub unless there's a stop. And he was on the bench and he was just trapped at the scorer's table. And I was there with my friend Hershey, and we were freaking out. We were like, oh my God, we're going to lose this game. And then I think Carmelo hit a 3 and LeBron got going, and then it staved it off. But, 2010 against Turkey, Durant had to go into full Durant mode. We lost in 2006 against Greece. We lost in 2004. We lost in 2002. I don't feel like it's as much of a slam dunk as people think. The one advantage we did have, though, with Love and Griffin and Davis and Durant, this was a really flexible team, and then those guys pulled out. So if you had to pick, who would you say hurts more not being there, Love or Griffin?
Love, I think, just because of the shooting, just because of the combination of shooting and rebounding. And you mentioned before, you can play Love and Davis and you have size and rebounding, but you still have, and the other thing is, Davis might be a good international three-point shooter now. That's the other, he might be able to shoot more threes in this tournament than he has in the NBA. If the line, actually, did they move the line back? Am I wrong? Is the line now the same? I can never keep track. I can never keep track of where the FIBA line is. They may have moved it back by now, so maybe scratch that. But you'd have enough shooting and enough rebounding, and it's an ideal combination. Now we got to scrap a little bit, but you know what? Every team's got to. This is like welcome to being in the rest of the world. Every country's got to scrap a little bit with their roster.
I guess the thing that bugs me is I love basketball, and I was really excited to see this specific team the way it was constructed. Where it was going to be. I'm guessing they would have brought Harden off the bench in the Carmelo role. I think one of the reasons Blake might have dropped out is he might not have wasn't maybe positive he was starting. And I do think there's ego brand issues with some of these guys. Blake not playing was a little bit strange. These guys play basketball all the time, Zach. Like, it's not like they're not playing pickup for 2-3 hours, 5-6 hours a week. I don't think it's that much of a grind to go to Spain and play in 8 tournament games. So the whole thing about, I don't want to get hurt. I'd never buy that with this. This is not like this grueling, unbelievable thing. It's grueling if you're Kawhi Leonard. It's grueling if you're LeBron and you just played a 100-game season and you're trying to get your body to regroup for October. But if you're Kevin Love or even if you're Blake, you played 2 rounds in the playoffs. You haven't played basketball for 4 months. So I don't buy the whole grueling thing. Do you buy it?
I don't. Was that even put forth as a reason for Kevin Love's withdrawal? No one actually. I don't know how many public statements there actually were, but the reported reasons were pretty clear, and it was
right. Well,
there are trade talks. Yeah, there are trade talks going on. I don't want to jeopardize that in my impending free agency. So that was obvious. With Blake, it was different.
Blake, it was a little ambiguous, and I'm still not positive why he pulled out. And I think the Kevin Love thing. I tweeted this on Saturday. I think he got bad advice. First of all, I don't know how it's going to impact his trade value unless he gets hurt. You get hurt doing anything. He's going to play basketball every day. He could get hurt playing pickup, I do feel like part of it smacked of just them trying to protect what his value is right now. And it's not like he could do anything in this tournament that would increase whatever trade value he has, but it could go the other way potentially. This is what I would call now the Dante Exum corollary of people protecting the brands that they have created in people's minds. Dante Exum doesn't play basketball for 10 months, goes to Summer League. Did you see him in person?
I did.
I mean, the accounts I heard, nobody was saying he's a bust, but everybody was just saying like he was like a baby.
I mean, he exploded on the scene in his first game with like 5 different highlight plays. It was fantastic. It was great to watch him play with Burke. Faded a little bit after that, and then I left after a week and didn't keep track of him. But at least during the first 4 or 5 days, people were pleased and excited with what they had seen. And really,
there was talent.
Burke was the one who looked, at least in the first couple Utah games, looked a little bit – it was going to take time for him to learn how to share the ball handling with Exum, and is he a good enough shooter? He was struggling from the field. Is he a good enough shooter to play off the ball? That was the bigger question after the first week.
Well, and then you're looking at that 2013 draft, and it's just possible it was like just one of the all-time most horrible drafts we've ever had, and everybody that we thought was pretty good from that draft, now that you have these 2014 guys coming in, they might be actually a lot worse than we thought. And maybe Trey Burke, who looked like one of the best 4 or 5 rookies last year, maybe if you put him in this rookie class, he wouldn't look like, anything remotely similar. But the point with Exum is just, if he had played a whole college season, he's certainly explosive and athletic and stuff like that, but he was almost better off not playing. And we've created this basketball society now where guys are better off not jeopardizing whatever little leverage they have with whatever. And I just think in Kevin Love's case, first of all, he screwed the Team USA over with how late he dropped out because he was one of the building blocks of the team. And the part that wasn't reported over the weekend is I don't think this went over well with Jerry Colangelo, the guy who's basically the godfather of USA basketball. They had spent the last 10 years trying to establish a tradition of, this is our national team. It's not just you show up for the Olympics and you get to play. Like, you have to be part of something. And if you're not part of the World Cup and the tryouts leading up to it and all that stuff, you need to have a really good reason. And in 2010, they let LeBron, I think they let him leave, and Kobe. They played a lot of minutes and a lot of stuff going on. Like, it was defensible. In
Chris
this case,
Paul, too. Chris Paul didn't play 2010
Chris
either.
Paul, he always has the knee stuff and all kinds of whatever. I got all that stuff. This time around, Aldridge dropped out really late, and then Blake dropped out the week of, and then Love basically the day before. Now they're having to scramble for Paul Millsap, but I think Love and Griffin in particular might have potentially lost their 2016 spots. I would not be surprised because the attitude is we're probably going to win anyway. You can't do that to us.
We'll see.
Keep watching that plot.
Those 2010 guys were allowed to return, but as you say, they're sort of a level above in terms of what they had established by then. And then the flip side is Cousins keeps getting invited and may make the team this year, despite every Team USA, whether he was on USA Select or trying out for the roster or whatever. Everyone just comes away horrified at his behavior. Dating to even last year, I think, during one of the training camps. And he keeps getting invited back because of his talent and the notion that he's maturing and improving as a player and as an individual. So it's not as Jerry Colangelo is known as sort of a crusty don't cross me kind of guy, but he's opened the door for some of his, not enemies is too strong, but some of the guys that were reportedly on his bad side, from coaches to players. He's opened the door for them to come back. So we'll just have to see.
Cousins, I think, so if we ranked like most to gain from this whole World Cup experience, we both agree Anthony Davis is number 1 in that list, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all know he's going to be a monster, but this could be, he could destroy this entire tournament.
Because he was a monster already in our circles, in the crazy basketball fan circles, and we've both written about him, and it was no secret to anybody who watched League Pass and who was pathetic enough to watch the Hornets playing in late March when they have no playoff aspirations whatsoever. Not a revelation to us that Anthony Davis is great.
The Pelicans, Pelicans. We got to get the names right. I'm still screwing it up all the time with Hornets and Pelicans. They shouldn't be allowed to trade with each other, but yes, Pelicans.
The Pels. The Pellies.
Pellies.
But I think for the semi-casual basketball fan audience who will be coming in for this tournament, I think, and just for Davis getting the spotlight finally, I think he has a chance to be the big winner, the Durant of 2010. And I think the number 2 guy, I got to say, I think it's Cousins. If he can have a big impact on this team and behave himself and be this, low post monster and just a great teammate and everybody's raving about what a good guy he is and he's matured and all that stuff, that's the best thing that could ever happen to that guy.
I agree, and the other guys who could have the sort of breakout fall into 2 categories. Like, they've already broken out. Like, Lillard is already broken out. Irving is already broken out. Paul George is already broken out. Or just are probably not going to make the team, or if they do, just won't play enough. Like Gordon Hayward and guys like that. The one guy, the guy we haven't talked about that we should be most excited to watch of all these players is Derrick Rose. He could sort of have like the re-breakout if he makes the team.
Oh, yeah. Do you think he should play in this?
Most people I've talked to, this was a hot topic at Summer League. Most people I talk to think it's the right decision. Just like, you come back from all this knee stuff and ACL and a meniscus, and mentally, even if your body is physically right, which is not, it's not going to be right away. Mentally, you've got to. Everyone says, you got to take the first hit. You got to fall down. You got to knock knees. You got to get that stuff out of your system and have confidence in your body. And everyone's like, if he can do that in this environment, where maybe he doesn't have to play a ton of minutes and like the expectations heaped on him aren't that high, it will just, from a Bulls fan perspective, he could walk into training camp in much better sort of mental shape than maybe he was. Not that he was in bad mental shape last year, but you know what I mean? Like, it just ahead of the game compared to how he was last year.
Yeah, if you flipped it around, you made a most to lose next month, and in the tryouts group, I think Rose is way up there. Cousins, obviously, if a couple boogie type of things happen, and that stigma that he has of being a bad teammate, he might just be a guy, and he talked about this when I was on the podcast, who just needs to be in a good situation to be a good teammate. He might be one of those guys. But if he has some stuff happen, then I think Kyrie Irving has not a lot to gain, because I think the perception is that he's really good, and maybe he might even be a little overrated for what he actually delivers, but could have a lot to lose here if he stinks in the tournament. And that could be a really interesting subplot heading into this first LeBron Cavs reseason or comeback season. If Kyrie just stinks in the tournament for whatever reason, I think people would point to that.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And I think it's more your first thing where he lost. I mean, aside from winning the All-Star MVP, which, probably 7 people in the world actually care about.
Right.
He lost a lot of his mojo last year. But I think he's so talented and so young that even people who are like kind of worried about how he played last year and how bad Cleveland was. I mean, I'm not worried about him. He's going to be fine. But I think, I think he's just going to be fine. I don't think he won't stink in this tournament, and he'll be fine next year with LeBron. I hope, for Cleveland's sake. Another
big winner potentially of this tournament is Steve Kerr, because he wanted to keep that Curry-Thompson backcourt together. And his continuity is very important to him, and all the stuff Clay does is important to what he wants to do. And if those guys together are just lights out in this tournament and remind everybody and get a lot of that, hey, this is the best backcourt by far in the NBA right now. If they get that buzz going, I think that would be good too. And I actually think Klay Thompson's going to be great in this tournament. It's perfect for him.
If he makes the team. Are we assuming he makes the team?
How could he not?
I mean, there are 19 guys going for 12 spots. You just named, 6 no-brainers right off the top. The 7 you had with Love minus Love, and that leaves 13 guys for 6 more spots. There are going to be some good players who don't make it. And
I had him in that 7, though.
You did?
I just assumed he was going to be the starter. Yeah, I assumed Curry and Thompson were going to be the starters. Maybe I'm on drugs.
No, you could be right. I mean, all these wing players are, they're not fungible, because Paul George is clearly the best of all the generic wing guys to use 2s and 3s together. But Parsons, Hayward, Thompson, I mean, they all have different strengths and weaknesses. I'm not looking at them and thinking, one is no-brainer addition over another. I think Parsons, actually, with his passing ability and dribbling ability, is an interesting candidate. But I guess the odds are against him making the team. I mean, I haven't dug into it so much. And DeRozan is another guy that I would be surprised if he made the team. But, he's a big name. He's in there. He's an all-star.
I can't see him or John Wall making it. I don't feel like their games are correct for this level of whatever goes on in international basketball. You need to be able to – we learn this every year. You need to be a really good shooter if you're going to be a wing guy, or you have to be a phenomenal defensive player. If you're not one of those two categories, it's not happening.
Wall is interesting because he was the last-minute invite, and he wasn't invited the last time we did this, either for the select team or the national team sort of larger pool. And it's interesting how reluctant they are to sort of make him one of the guys. I mean, part of it is that even on this B team, there's Lillard, Rose, Irving, Curry. So we're flush with point guards, period. But, I agree with you. He's not the shooter that those guys are, although he shot, by his standards very well from three-point range this year. But I'm just going to own it.
American.
One of the strengths that the U.S. has is that we play fast, and he's certainly the best equipped of all those guys to cause some havoc, to get the turnovers, to get out in transition and push the ball and find shooters. I know he can't shoot as well as these other players, but he'd be an interesting. I think he might fit better than maybe the Team USA higher-ups think.
I thought Indiana pulled his pants down in round 2 and really exposed him in a lot of different ways. He's either in fifth gear, he's great. In first, second, or third gear, he's not. And he just has a long way to go. I hope that he watches those games because I like John Wall. I think, he's probably, other than Westbrook, the most electric athlete we have at the guard position. But you got to learn how to play half court too, or nothing's going to happen. I thought he really hurt them in that Indiana series. It's interesting, though. You mentioned Lillard. Why wouldn't everybody has Kyrie definitely on this team? In my opinion, Lillard, A, a better fit. B, he's done more. And C, I think he's just better. Like, why isn't he penciled in ahead of Kyrie?
After last season, there's really no good answer. I mean, they're similar players, except Lillard was a more sort of stable team force and a better three-point shooter last year, off the dribble and off the catch, more prolific and just better. And he's a sneaky good athlete too. He's not quite as flashy in terms of the dribbling and the fancy passes as Kyrie, but I think he may be nearly as good an athlete, if not a better one, and more above the rim when he needs to be. I agree with you. I don't understand why, if he's not penciled in, or if he's clearly regarded as behind Kyrie in the pecking order, I'm not really sure why that is.
I really hope that's not the case. And by the way, everybody on this team should be put on the team under the premise, we're in Spain. Who do you trust in that game? I trust Damian Lillard. I think that guy is fearless. I don't trust Kyrie Irving at all. I've never even seen him play in a big game. I know what Damian Lillard can do in a big game. I've seen him have multiple big moments. If you made the all testicles team, he would be the point guard. I think he should be on the team. What's interesting, though, we mentioned Curry, we mentioned Rose, we mentioned Damian Lillard, we mentioned Kyrie Irving. I'm not sure you can have all four.
No, I don't. No, you could. I mean, you can play.
Why would you, though?
Well, I mean, if you're playing Spain, if you're thinking about the Spain matchup, I believe Juan Carlos Navarro is still on the roster. He's listed on FIBA's roster, and so he's a little guy by shooting guard standards. And if they're going to play a point guard in him, you can play two point guards pretty easily. And against some other international teams, you could play the same. If your wings are not satisfying you, you could go that route. But the other knock on Lillard, by the way, is, at the very least, he's not going to have Harden and Parsons playing defense against him in big moments for Team USA. So, no, it's making up this roster is an interesting parlor game, but I'm glad I'm not the one who has to do it.
What would be your crunch time 5 in Spain?
Oh, man. Curry, well, let's see. Well, Curry and Davis would be no-brainers, so that's 2, and Durant is 3. And if we're playing Durant at power forward, that means we're searching for 2 wings, right? So I think we need Paul George as our defensive guy, and the closest thing to Iguodala. And actually, it'd be interesting to see if he can replicate sort of the driving and dishing and cutting that Iguodala brings to the table. So I need one more guy. Let's go with Harden. I mean, look, as atrocious as his defense has been, and it's been like beyond well chronicled. He's got international experience on big stages and a lot of big games under his belt, and he's a special offensive player. You know what I mean? The Harden hate has veered to the point, you know, in your parlance, where he's like, so what would you say? He's so underrated that I don't know.
He's now underrated. He's the overrated crowd has now made him underrated.
Like, he's a special offensive player, and if you surround him with the right pieces, and in Durant, Davis, and who else is in my starting line? In George, we have, you know, two good, very good defenders and one good one. He should be able to be on the floor doing good things and sharing point guard duties with Curry. That's my 5 right now.
I would have Curry, Klay Thompson, Paul George, Davis, and Durant.
Yeah, so we differ in one spot.
Yeah, well, I just because Thompson can give me the shooting. I don't totally need Harden because I already have Durant, who's my ball in the hands guy. So I don't need Harden. And then I have shooters everywhere, and defensively, I'm a beast, and I can hide Curry because I have Klay and I have Paul George and I have Davis and Durant if he's going full tilt. I can cover anybody and switch on everybody, right?
I got no issue with that. I don't know if you can switch on everybody, but you can switch a lot. You can switch a lot.
And Spain would go, like, the other thing I like about Paul George is, this is weird, but I actually think he could defend Pau. Potentially. Ooh. Potentially.
On a couple possessions here or there.
Yeah.
He's long. He'd get overpowered.
Well, so would Durant.
Durant's got a little more experience at it. I think that matters. I think just like the reps you get, learning how to defend the post, learning how not to foul, learning how to battle for early positions so you're not at a terrible disadvantage. Like, I think he has more He has so many more reps than George doing that against big guys in the NBA. I think that matters. And he's you know, just flat bigger. I mean, he's 7 feet tall.
I would say to Paul George, my coaches don't think you can guard Pau. They don't want me to put you on him. They don't think you can do it. I'd get in his head early. Even in training camp, just playing it in his head. Man, they don't think you're big enough. Just make him get. So by the time the Spain game came around, he'd have the eye of the tiger. I'm really excited for this tournament. And I wish not all the French guys are playing, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, that's too bad because the France team would have been super fun to watch. I wish more people cared. I wish this was like just everybody played and they did something where when there was a World Cup, it was a 78-game season instead of an 82-game NBA season, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't think Parker is playing, which, you know, basically takes France off the table. He's not listed on their roster, and I believe he's not playing. So, you know, without him, they won Eurobasket last year, which was fantastic for them. But if he doesn't play, they're nothing. And the other sad thing is, you know, this whole Argentina Basketball Federation, like, disastrous mismanagement and the players at one point threatening to boycott. I mean, it looks like they're all going to play, and Ginobili, despite the stress factor, is making noises that he might play. And it just, if they didn't play or if it ended badly, it would just be such a sad coda to, you know, one of the great. I've actually made the argument. This is an interesting argument. If you know how we induct teams every once in a while into the Hall of Fame, like the 1960 Olympic team, the Dream Team. I think, I don't know how you would do it if you would just select the 2004 gold medal team, but I think that golden generation for Argentina deserves to be honored in some way. I mean, there was no basketball in Argentina. It was not on the international map until those guys came along. Beat the Dream Team multiple times. Or the Dream, let's not call it the Dream Team. Yeah, beat Team USA.
Dream Team Carcass.
Yeah, beat Team USA multiple times, won basically every major international competition for which they were eligible. And just have guys, especially have one guy in Ginobili who has changed basketball and a couple of other massive names. I think they should. I don't know how you'd induct them into the Hall of Fame, but I think they're an interesting candidate. The other side is, do you then have to consider the Spanish team that has these monster names and has won, you know, every international competition but the Olympics? Do you have to consider them too? I don't know. But that Argentina team needs. I hope they finish on a high note for them, and they deserve some recognition in a big international way.
What about the 2006 Greeks single-handedly teaching us that we needed to start worrying about how to defend pick and rolls as a country?
Yeah, and Lithuania beat us in a high. Yeah, absolutely. Lithuania beat us in a high-profile game. Yeah. I believe in 2004. Those teams have given us a run, and that Greek team, that loss was a landmark moment for Team USA. I don't know if you get into the Hall of Fame based on it, but they've had a lot of success.
Last thing before we go, because we're going to go to House. Kevin Love, we still think he's going to the Cavs, right?
If Wiggins is offered, I don't see a way that trade doesn't happen. That was like 4 negatives. I think, yes, that he will go to the Cavs.
Do you think, I was thinking about this. If Cleveland had taken Jabari instead of Wiggins, I feel like he would have more trade value in a Kevin Love trade than Wiggins does. Does that make sense? I know you're not a huge college guy.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer. Why do you think that?
It seems like with Wiggins, especially coming out of Summer League, where I think he shot like 33%, there is some buzz like, can't shoot yet. Not really a dribbler. Kind of fades in and out of games. Like there's a case building against him why maybe he's not as much of a sure thing as you'd want in a Kevin Love trade. Whereas with Jabari, it just seems like everybody's locked in on Jabari. Like that guy's good. He's getting score 20 a game.
He's considered much more NBA ready, and that appeals to Flip Saunders has this
delusion,
dream reality in which he's going to win 45 games next season after trading Kevin Love, or make the playoffs anyway, which it might take 49 wins. So that Parker, I guess, would fit into that narrative, and he's going to play a lot of 4 in the NBA, if not exclusively 4. So that's Love's position, maybe. And look, our own Kevin Pelton has sort of led the charge on. My assumption of Wiggins being a fantastic return for Kevin Love is just like, I don't know enough about him to say, but if he just gives you the career average return of a number 1 overall pick, it's a home run. And Kevin Pelton has been at the forefront of saying, I don't think we should necessarily expect that from Wiggins. I think he might be a sub-average number 1 overall pick. And I just don't know enough to conclude that. I've only seen him play a handful of times. But if that's the case, then it's a more interesting conversation, and maybe some of those other teams like Golden State or Chicago could butt their way back into it. But I still think if Wiggins is on the table, that deal is going to happen. I still think that it's probably going to happen when I'm on vacation, of course, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say about Wiggins in Minnesota is that's a terrible situation for him, because now you have the pressure of this is who we traded Kevin Love for. You're on a team that really has a lot of guys that do what you do. You're just a wing on a team that's kind of has too many wings already. They'd probably expect him to score. A lot of the stuff that I think he'd be good at right away wouldn't necessarily translate to that team. Whereas Jabari would just come in. Jabari's going to score 18 a game next year no matter what team he's on. Did you see Giannis in person, by the way, in Vegas?
I did.
Giannis Johnson or Magic Giannison?
Well, that was you mentioned the 2013 draft and how bad that draft was, and how maybe everyone has hit their series is going to be regarded as like a peg worse once the new draft guys come in. The exceptions to that coming out of Summer League were Giannis Antetokounmpo and Noel, who looks like he is going to be an absolute monster defensively, and people kind of forget that he exists. Those 2 guys were fun, and they stretched Greek Freak probably further than they ever will in the actual season by running him at point guard and letting him turn the ball over 1,000,000 times, which is I think what you should use Summer League to do. But those guys are going to be good, and Noel is going to be a monster on defense.
Yeah, if he stays on the court. I remember the 2013 draft. I thought he was the best pick. And he was the one guy that we knew what he could do out of all those dudes. He was the one guy we were like, all right, at least I know what this guy is. Worst case scenario, he's going to be an awesome energy guy, shot blocker. He could be a 27-minute a game on a contender guy who changes the game when he comes in defensively. And him and Embiid together is really interesting.
Yeah, and best case scenario, he's a better Tyson Chandler. Yeah. And I think the one thing everyone came away from Summer League was, holy cow, does this guy have quick hands? I mean, not just the shot blocking and the challenging shots at the rim, but picking guys' pockets, stealing passes, getting them out on the break. The hands and the steals are what sort of opened eyes at Summer League. And by the one thing I will say about Wiggins and Kevin Love, you said that it's a lot of pressure on him. I actually think it could work, and I know you got to go, but I just want to say this. I think it could work the opposite way, where Love has burned so much goodwill there. Like my Twitter feed when I tweeted that he was going to, I retweeted someone reporting he was out of Team USA, was like 95% Minnesota fans saying like such horrible things about him that I had to get off of Twitter. I think, there would obviously be pressure, but I don't think it would be like equivalent to, okay, you're the guy we got for KG, this beloved franchise
that's a good
figure.
Point. I like that point. You should get off Twitter anyway.
Yeah, it can be poisonous sometimes.
I think Kevin Love has really burned some bridges, not just in Minnesota, but just in general. I think it's really interesting that somebody who statistically was so great last season is somebody that nobody really knows how good of a player he is, and he's certainly in basketball circles. There's a wide variety of opinions on what his actual value is.
That is shocking. I'm a big Kevin Love guy, as you know.
Me too.
I'm a huge, he's clearly one of the top 10 players, maybe one of the top 5 players in the NBA.
I agree.
But it is amazing how many NBA people of all varieties, analytics guys, non-analytics guys, the crustiest old school guys you can find, will just say things like, I don't think he's that good. I don't think he helps you win. He's got a lot of skepticism to overcome, which is why plopping him on a Cleveland team expected to win immediately would be a lot of fun.
I agree. I hope it happens. It would be fun if he went to Chicago, too, and Golden State would be fun. Anywhere he goes that is a winning team will be fun, because we'll be able to answer the question once and for all how good he is. Zach Lowe, a pleasure. When do you go on vacation?
1 week from today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, America, you're not going to have Zach Lowe in August.
I may open my gelato stand on the beach in Croatia and never come back. It's a possibility. It's in play. That's all I'm telling you.
We'll be fair. We're Danny Chow and Goldsberry and other guys. We'll have to just step up the bullpen back committee and wait for you to leave the gelato stand. Zach Lowe, we'll talk to you before you go.
Have fun.
All right, we're going to go to Joe House, but before we do that, a word from our friends at Stamps.com. Sponsor, BS Report. Sponsor for a while. If you go to their website, there's a microphone on the top right, and it says, in the words are, heard us on radio or podcast, click here. Hey, you're listening to a podcast. You should click on that button. When you click on it, you put in the promo code, which is BS, and you get a deal on a whole bunch of stuff, including a scale. You get some free postage, and more importantly, you never have to go to the United States Post Office ever again. You can just print everything out on your printer. You don't have to go to the post office. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to deal with smelly people standing there in front of you trying to mail some box to somebody. Just stay home. Stamps.com. Print out the postage. Check it out. Put in the BS. Get a deal on stuff. All right, during that commercial, I was able to look up the FIBA three-point line. It looks like it is 22.1 feet, which is 20 inches less than the NBA. And I think they did move it back a little a few years ago, but now it's 22.1 feet. The NCAA is 20 feet, 9 inches. So there you go. Hey, Joe House, what's happening?
What is happening? So should we go right in on it? Because that you have about 3 or 4 points in there that we could jump all over with the FIBA World Cup.
Yes.
Which is still very confusing to me.
Zach and I just hit a lot of it, so I'll give you – I don't want to regurgitate all the stuff I said, but first of all, do you care?
Of course I care.
I do too. I really care. I don't know. I'm tired of feeling like a weirdo because I care about the World Cup of basketball.
Well, I care both for the purposes of the U.S. hopefully winning and getting the exemption straight through to the Olympics, because that means less wear and tear potentially on our guys. But the other reason, among the other reasons that I care, I want to see guys who have not been on an international stage before get an opportunity. And so on the one hand, I am disappointed to see some of the young stars from our league dropping out. But on the other hand, I am kind of intrigued to see guys like Anthony Davis get big-time minutes on this stage. Guys like James Harden, who for sure is in need of, flipping the script a little bit, changing the narrative on the big time stage for himself.
Yeah.
But I think there's an opportunity there that is pretty intriguing.
Yeah, and I think this was shaping up as kind of the Anthony Davis show anyway. And now it really has to be because Love and Griffin and Aldridge, all that. But Zach and I were talking about how Durant in 2010 kind of owned that tournament and it pushed him to another level. And I think Davis is the best possibility for that. But I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Zach. We're playing Spain in Spain. Anthony Davis gets 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes of the game and has to come out. And the rest of our bigs are Boogie Cousins, Andre Drummond, and that's about it. At that point, do you have a heart attack?
Well, I just prepare myself. We're going to lose. We're going to lose that game unless.
Why do we have to lose, though? That's my point.
Well, unless we are lights out from 3. The thing that I like about the way this team is shaping up, it's like the most Duke team ever for an international team. Coach K is going to get to put out his most Duke-like lineup. It's going to be a running 3-point shooting team, which is the Duke model. Outscore the other team, and if we're making threes, there's nobody that can beat us.
Who would be yours? I'm giving you these 4 point guards. You have to keep 3. Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose.
I would leave out
I'll
Rose.
throw your boy in John Wall.
I'm not even kidding. I would leave out Derrick Rose.
Really?
He's had 2 knee surgeries in 18 months.
Oh, I like where you're going with this. It's not fair to our country to take a risk on Derrick Rose when he hasn't established he can stay healthy.
It's also not fair to Derrick Rose. I don't think Derrick Rose makes sense on this team at this time.
So you're predicting a Derrick Rose bows out at some point during the tryouts just because he's a little worried to do whatever. He's just better off for him to wait for the NBA season, some sort of cover
and
story.
He's not basketball ready. He's nowhere near basketball ready yet.
Well, he's 100% physically, but he hasn't. There's the mental hurdles of just playing in games and doing Derrick Rose things again that he hasn't done.
Yeah, we watched the first month of the NBA season last year. He was 100% then too.
Yeah,
he wasn't very good.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. So, Damian Lillard or Kyrie Irving?
For what? I think they're both going to make it, right?
Yeah, but who would you like? Just in the rotation, just in general, who is more important for you?
I honestly like Kyrie over Lillard.
Wow, and Zach and I both like Lillard.
The reason is because neither one of them play defense. I mean, not even a lick.
Yeah.
But I think Kyrie is slightly more physical and slightly more athletic than Lillard.
Who do you trust more in Spain with the crowd going crazy?
That's a great question. Lillard has been up to the moment, that everybody can see from the 3-pointer that he made to win the playoff series that he's ready. He's shown no fear ever. At any point in his career has he demonstrated any fear.
What are some of your favorite clutch Kyrie Irving moments?
All I know is he eats up the Washington professional basketball team. The guy can't miss when he comes here or when we go there.
So it sounds like you're most excited about Coach K finally realizing his Duke destiny with an international basketball team, Anthony Davis,
yes.
Durant, and just us bombing threes.
I'm extremely excited for it. You know what's crazy? This tournament coincides exactly with the start of the NFL season.
I know. So that's why I'm not going.
If we lose to Spain, I don't think anybody outside of us and the 300 other diehards, Mark Stein, Zach, a few others, will care.
ESPN doesn't even care. I don't even think we're sending an announcing crew. I think they're doing the thing where they announce it for Bristol.
Spain is pretty nice. Spain in September?
No, we don't make enough money. So it's not like we're negotiating a new contract. I think we should go, personally. I think it's a mistake not to go. But what do I know?
Well, the other teams are taking it seriously.
Yeah.
the other countries.
I think Spain's going to be a real game. I think the Gasals are going to be fired up. And I think that team's been playing together for a long time. And now that we don't have Kevin Love and Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge and we have no size whatsoever, they could absolutely beat us if all we're relying on is shooting threes.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, Rubio and Calderon don't exactly strike fear in your heart if you're Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving or Damian Lillard in terms of them coming out and getting in your face. But
you know what? I'm buying Rubio stock.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm buying Rubio stock.
On what basis?
I don't think you like Kevin Love.
Oh.
I think he's in a contract year.
Oh.
I think that was a messed up situation between Kevin Love not being happy and Rick Adelman, just one of the all-time coaching mail-ins last year. I know he had some personal issues and stuff, but that team was poorly coached, just point blank. The pieces didn't totally fit. Now you have Rubio in a contract year, and I think he's going to have a great season. Or not great for him. I don't think he's going to make the All-NBA team or
anything.
Which
means he'll shoot 34% instead of 29%?
No, I still think he's really good at basketball. I think he can't shoot, but Jason Kidd couldn't shoot either for 10 years. I get the difference is he can't finish at the rim, and Jason Kidd could. But I just think there's enough there that I'm not ready to give up on him yet. And I think if they trade Kevin Love, he's going to be fired up.
Well, it would be a great story. It would be a great story for this tournament for him to show some of that poise and promise and allure that he demonstrated back when he was 18 years old. I mean, it all started with the Olympics, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever it was.
You think they're dusting off Rudy Fernandez for this?
Oh, God, yes. Absolutely.
Where's he been? Is he just at a club right now? Is he still on a team?
It doesn't matter. He's the perfect international agitator.
Yeah. He really sucked people in with his international play. With that, where just some guys they're just better at international basketball, and it's just the way it is.
They still have Juan Carlos Navarro too.
Oh yeah, JC.
Right.
All right, let's talk about. So we're both excited. We don't need to talk about it anymore, but
sure.
But yeah, the Washington basketball team. It's been a great summer.
You mean the winners of the free agency offseason so far? The winners of the NBA summer?
Is that what you were? I didn't realize.
We won. We won the whole thing. What are you talking about? We're number one. That's a 48-win team, third seed lock in the East, baby.
So you overpaid Gortat, which you knew was going to happen, so you can't even get mad. You stole Paul Pierce. 2 years, $11 million. You have a veteran. Where were the Rockets on that one?
Where was everybody on that one? Who couldn't use PP?
40% three-point shooter and a great leader and not afraid and can play 20 to 30 minutes a game and can play the 3 and the 4 and what the hell?
What a deadly combination, him and John Wall, by the way. If there's a guy who can run on a trailing fast break and just find an open spot on a three-point line and count on a point guard to get him the ball, it's going to be PP and John Wall. What a combo.
Well, more importantly, you didn't pay Trevor Ariza after a contract year. Which
that's the most important thing. That's why we won. That's why we're number one. We did not overpay Trevor Ariza.
He's had 2 good seasons in the last 6. They're both contract years. I know this has been covered on the internet, but not a coincidence. I'm sorry. Some guys just try harder when they're about to have a contract up.
And by the way, I watched him when he wasn't trying hard. That was the 4-24 Washington professional basketball team that started the 2012-2013 season.
You hated him. You hated his guts.
That's a fact.
And he was pretty good last year. You got one other person, didn't you? Who was the other guy you got?
We got DeJuan Blair.
Oh, I like DeJuan Blair. You lost Trevor Burker, but you got DeJuan Blair.
And we got Chris Humphries.
I got to say, I didn't mind Chris Humphries in the Celtics.
Yeah, look,
I really didn't.
That's a lot of for a front court that rightfully can be criticized as being a little old, and then they only can play 52 or 53 games every year. Gortat's in his 30s now. Those are 2 great backups, 2 great guys to spot your big guys.
So last year you had Drew Gooden got some of those minutes.
Well, he got him, as a post All-Star break acquisition even.
Right. So by default, he was just getting those minutes, and you actually played him in crunch time. Randy Whitman. I guess the biggest reason you're a loser in this summer was you brought Randy Whitman back for 3 more years. But your Trevor Booker, DeJuan Blair gets his minutes. Paul Pierce and the one and only Otto Porter, you would guess, would get the Ariza minutes. Otto Porter was the 3rd pick in the draft. That was another reason they had to let Ariza go, because you have to find out if that guy can play basketball or not.
And he had a great summer season.
I know, but you know how I feel about that.
No, I mean, he just was healthy. The most important thing is he got minutes, he performed well, and he got reps. That's all.
Hey, Otto, play defense and hit threes. You don't have to do anything else on the court. Just do those 2 things. Hit 2 threes a game and play and guard people. And then
the season.
And then you get hopefully a new and improved John Wall next year.
Well, it's still improving is the way I would say it. Still improving John Wall, still improving Brad Beal. 2 guys who got exactly what you want out of last season, which is playoff experience, and they won a series together, for Christ's sakes. Terrific. The
other reason you were a winner was because the Durant to Washington stuff finally started leaking out.
Whoa.
This has been percolating like a nice brewed cup of coffee. Like those Starbucks coffees that what are those things where you can buy the individual coffees? It takes like 6 minutes to make. They got to make it. It's just your own cup of coffee. You know those things? It's called like the Verano, or I forget what it's called. You know about this?
I don't think they have that out here. I haven't seen that.
They have this secret machine that brews individual coffees, and it takes like 6 or 7 minutes to brew. And some people order it, and then they just stand there for 7 minutes waiting for their stupid individual coffee to be brewed.
I would be one of those people. I'm stupid like that.
No, because you get like the Trenna Red Eye, whatever. Ice Red Eye.
Trenna Red Eye. That's the day. They should just change that to the Joe House.
You ordered the
Can
thing
I have the Joe House, please?
I found out that the venti iced coffee has like 5 shots of espresso in it or something, because they put more, because it's there for a long time, so they put more espresso so the caffeine doesn't fade away or whatever.
Caffeine. High caffeine content in the iced coffee. It's a fact.
And you get a Trenna version of the iced coffee, and then you put a shot of espresso in it.
I do.
On top of it.
Delicious.
Like, just start doing cocaine at this point. Just start doing bumps.
If they sold it at an overpriced, overpackaged, delicious, soft rock venue, I'd be right there.
I'll have a venti rock iced coffee. Venti coffee with some cocaine sprinkled into it. Anyway, that has to percolate for 7 minutes. And this Durant Washington stuff has been percolating all summer. And then finally somebody wrote about it. But, I mean, it's out there, and I think
the big story there, nobody should sleep on, was the acquisition of his high school coach.
Yeah, I certainly didn't sleep on it. I didn't sleep on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And, you and I are having a conversation. That's what a podcast is. I'm not reporting anything. I'm not writing anything. We're having a conversation about Kevin Durant rumors. So when people put the stupid blog posts up and they're like, well, this was reported, I'm not reporting anything. I'm having a conversation with my friend. Anyway, the Durant DC stuff, I do feel like part of this, LeBron going back to Cleveland and got so much positive attention for it. And just in general, the whole theme of LeBron comes home. I don't think this is for every player, but I do think Durant noticed. It would have been hard not to. I do think the fact that Oklahoma City tied up him and Westbrook and Ibaka, they tied those guys up to long-term contracts and then traded James Harden. And that was a real thing that I'm not sure those guys have forgotten that happened. Like, at that point, you're a piece of meat, right? You're like, hey, we're going to tie you up for 5 years. Oh, by the way, we're going to hurt our team this year and trade one of your friends. And I think at that point, it's hard to have a ton of loyalty to your team.
This era, what's loyalty anymore?
What is loyalty? Doesn't really exist.
I don't even. Loyalty to your hometown, that's loyalty.
So, if they don't win this year, I think there's a chance he pushes next summer. I have no inside info. Just looking at the landscape, it would make more sense for him to push next summer for some sort of trade thing than it would for him to just wait the extra year and then do year in limbo for a whole year, right?
He may. The only thing I'll say is if he pushes, it will be the quietest, most behind the scenes. Cause, I mean, that guy has been the classiest act, the classiest superstar. And I mean, really no knock on LeBron. LeBron had an error in judgment, had some bad advice with the decision. It wasn't that the decision was wrong. It was obviously the delivery. That's been covered way too much. But, I mean, Durant, the signing of the extension was done quietly. I mean, he goes about it, all of that, the business side of things, in the quietest, most perfectly classy way. And if he does, put word out, it will be, so it'll be deep and behind the scenes, and it'll be one of these situations where you see him traded, potentially.
And nobody even knew about it.
Right, exactly. Like the Darren Williams thing.
Well, to Oklahoma City's credit, they moved heaven and hell this summer to put together a better basketball product to show that they're committed. I mean, they took Mitch McGary 21st when they could have gotten him at 29. I thought that was great. They took a guy 29th. They made a deal. They prearranged before they took him that he's going to go right to the D League. And the guy accepted because
Zach did a great write-up on that.
Yeah, Zach did a good job. He took the deal because he wasn't sure he was going to get drafted.
Sure.
So they took him at 29, and he's right to the D League. So great use of that pick. Then they had cap space that they didn't use on anybody other than Anthony Morrow, who I didn't even know played professional basketball last year. Did you? He was buried on one of the – I mean, I did know. I'm kidding. But Anthony Morrow, has he had a relevant moment in 5 years? That was your big free agent acquisition? Hey, guys, we got Anthony Morrow. He can make threes.
Maybe they're counting on Kevin Martin becoming available again whenever this Love thing happens.
They let Thabo go, which you knew was going to happen because
they're cheap.
Well, and also he didn't play for them last year, and he looked like he was on the downside a little bit.
Yeah.
They lost Fisher, so I guess they're going to put Anthony Morrow in that Fisher spot, which was the fifth spot, which was the reason they didn't win the title last year, was because they didn't have a fifth guy to play in crunch time. There are all these free agents that were available: Isaiah Thomas, Pau Gasol, Paul Pierce, all these guys like in that $5 to $7 to $8 million range, and they didn't get any of them.
But even somebody like Jameer Nelson might help them. Could have helped them.
I don't understand what they're doing. I just don't. I just fundamentally don't understand it. They now have a window with this Durant thing of 2 years. And if there was ever a summer for them to go get somebody who was going to have a real impact for them, it was this summer, and they didn't. And I'm sorry, Anthony Morrow is not the impact guy. No thoughts? You're not. Why are you afraid to say anything?
Well, I have two thoughts. The first thing is it's still, the free agency, the whole off-season thing isn't quite done yet, right? I mean, there's the way the NBA, this collective bargaining agreement works. We have all the way up until Halloween for extensions to be signed, and so there are still deals that can happen. As an example, if Kevin Love moves, there will be pieces that come available. I made a joke about Kevin Martin, but he and JJ Barea are going to be out on the market probably, before October.
Good news.
Well, I'm just if you're filling in spaces, if you're looking for backfill for Derek Fisher, then there's going to be guys out there. But the other thing is they still have to address the direction of the team they have with the players that they have. I mean, we can't ever again see a repeat of what happened in overtime of Game 6 this past,
or the last
NBA
6 minutes of the fourth quarter of that same game.
Right.
And the Fisher spot killed them. It killed their season. And their answer was, we signed Anthony Morrow. Here's Anthony Morrow's last 3 years. He played 62 games in 2012 for the Nets, 12 points a game, 37% shooting from three. Not bad. 2013, played for Atlanta and Dallas, played 41 games total, averaged 9.3 minutes a game, 4 points a game, made 0.4 threes a game. Last year, played for the New Orleans Pelicans, 18.8 minutes a game, shot 45% from three, averaged 2.6 threes a game, 8.4 points. So there you go.
I mean, that's right. That's not that doesn't give you a lot of encouragement. But the thing that I think is even more problematic for them, Russell Westbrook had a green light. He had an unfettered green light, and he shot the ball. It felt like every single time down the court from the 6 minutes on and through the overtime.
Well, the good news is that coach is coming back again.
It's good news.
That's
good news for the rest of the teams in the West.
In year 6, he's going to totally solve this offensive play malaise. It'll totally get better. The Oklahoma City fans get mad at me, and it's like all I'm pointing out is that you guys have Durant and Westbrook and Ibaka on your team. You should win the title. You should have already won the title one of these years.
Well, how about just get there? I want them to get there.
Just do something.
Right.
Make a move.
Not enough.
How about this? Pay the tax 1 year. Zach Lowe reported that they made $29 million profit last year. That was in the NBA's internal memo. Not to mention that their franchise has tripled in value. Spend some money. You're going to be kidding me.
That's my view.
Go get freaking.
You got to spend the money.
Go get
Guys
Isaiah Thomas. Available. Isaiah Thomas was available.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce was available.
I'm not suggesting that they jump in the Eric Bledsoe thing. It doesn't make sense, but, that caliber of player is out there.
Yeah, they don't have the cap space for him. But, it's just too bad. I love Durant. I really love watching him. I want him to be on a good team. I love Westbrook as much as any media member loves Westbrook, I think. I know he's polarizing. I get all the reasons why he drives other people crazy. I just love how he plays. I think he's fearless. I love watching him. I think he's one of a kind. I'm a huge fan. And I really like Ibaka. And I like Reggie Jackson. I thought he saved their bacon in that Memphis series. They have 4 guys I love watching. That team was one piece away from being the unequivocal favorite next year to win the title. And now I guess San Antonio's still the favorite. I'm personally a little dubious of the San Antonio thing just because I think so much of why it worked last year was because they had the eye of the tiger, and it was
when do they not have the eye of the tiger? All they do is win 55 games every year.
They were so motivated from losing the 6 and 7 in 2013 in Miami. I think it was a total sports movie situation.
So you think they're due for a letdown now?
I'm not saying they're due. I just don't know. I know that they won't have the same drive they had last year. They climbed the mountain, and then after that happens, you never totally know.
They don't want to defend the title? That's not sufficient motivation for that crew?
They might.
Kawhi Leonard might want to prove that it wasn't a fluke, that he is legit, that he's arrived. He's a super-duper star. He's not just an aspiring star. He's ready to be a superstar.
I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they climbed the mountain last year. That was the greatest way you could win a title the way they did it, and it's really tough to come back from that. It's tough to have that same – I think a good example would be the 85 Lakers, where they had this devastating loss in 84. They came back. Their whole season was built around getting revenge in the Celtics, and they did. And then they got knocked out by Houston in 86. It's really tough to summon that same level of energy and intensity and everything. I'm not saying they can't, but I don't know. And I think Oklahoma City, had they added that 5th piece, and we knew who their crunch time team was, and maybe, who knows, maybe Steven Adams will be the 5th piece. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, I like the McGarry pick. I just thought they could have gotten him at 29.
I know.
They took him too early. I think he's going to be helpful.
Huh?
I like him. It's amazing to me that they just chose to give away the 29th pick, basically, when there were real guys on the board. Man, I don't like overreacting to Summer League, but did you see Nick Johnson in Summer League?
Yeah, he looked pretty good.
And we knew he was good from Arizona and from his whole college thing. Like, he was the heart of that team. The problem with him is he doesn't totally have a position. But on Oklahoma City, like, you can't tell me Nick Johnson wanted to help them.
Yeah, it's true.
And athletically, that guy's off the charts. I'm disappointed they didn't do anything as a basketball fan. I don't think they're protecting this rare window they have with Durant and Westbrook.
Well, like I say, it's still only July. I mean, we have all the way up until...
It's a great point. Great. That's the best counterpoint you've made in 7-8 years. You're right. They could easily stumble into Kevin Martin.
Or somebody else. I mean, the players are still going to move.
Do you think they'd be interested in Avery Bradley at $8 million a year? Any takers?
You could take a try, take a shot at it.
Any chance? Anybody? Avery Bradley, $8 million a year? Any biters? What is my team doing?
You're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is hit rock bottom.
Well, speaking of rocks, you're going to see a lot of them thrown in the basket this year. Rondo, Avery Bradley, who's weirdly, his stats say that he's a better shooter than it does if you just watch the games. Marcus Smart, who's not going to make a jump shot all season. And now Evan Turner, who hasn't made a jump shot in his entire career.
Wow.
Those are our four guards. We actually need Marcus Thornton shooting. Yeah.
I mean, is there no defense will leave the free throw line against that team? There's no reason for a defender to ever move past the free throw line.
Well, it's not like that we have anybody to double team either. What do they like? Kelly Olynyk's posting up. Send some help.
Wow.
Yeah, our team. We have the worst team in the league other than Philly. We're the second worst team in the league right now.
Yeah, I can't name your starting five, and I can't name Philly's starting five.
I'm going to give you our starting five. I'm not against what they're doing, because if you're going to be bad, you might as well be awful.
Right, this is the thing to do.
We didn't trade Rondo, which is a problem.
You're still going to.
I'm not sure there's a market for him.
What? He's a top 15. He's a top 20 player in the league and a top 10 point guard.
The problem is you have the teams that would want him don't have enough to give up for him. And the teams that make the most sense in a trade don't make sense for Rondo because he's a free agent in a year. All right, here's our starting five. Kelly Olynyk, Jared Sullinger, Jeff Green, Avery Bradley, and Rajon Rondo.
Wow.
Here's who we have off the bench. Brandon Bass, James Young, Marcus Smart, Evan Turner, and Brandon Bass. Did I say him?
You said Brandon Bass.
How about Vitor Favorini? I guess I didn't say him. Tyler Zeller. I forgot about him. It's a team we have a bunch of 9th and 10th men. We have all guys that would be nice on the right team, right? Like Brandon Bass would be good on Oklahoma City or Golden State. But we don't have really that one guy.
Jeff Green would help some teams. Jeff Green would help Oklahoma City.
Take him. Very available. Please. Make us an offer. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty tired of it. Jeff Green is such a nice guy, and I just can't watch him play for another season. I can't take the swings anymore. The 42-point game.
Any of that.
The 42-point game followed by the 4-point 1-for-9 performance. Yeah.
The only reason for you to watch the Celtics night tonight is to confirm that they're going to lose.
Yeah. Well,
you just want to make sure that they're all set up to lose.
Here's what I would do if I was the Celtics. I would call the Knicks, and I would say, we're ready to trade Rondo. You have to take Gerald Wallace and Jeff Green in the trade. And you have to give us back Amar is expiring, Tim Hardaway, Queen Anthony Early, and your unprotected 18 and 20 picks.
That's too much.
And we'll trade you Rondo. Well, that's how I'd make the call.
Yeah, sure.
And then I would just hope the Knicks would.
20 and Go ahead.
Unprotected. Yeah.
I understand.
Is it too much, though?
It's too much.
You sure?
You can't have Hardaway and Anthony and the 2 picks. Those 4 assets are so
Tim Hardaway's
important under this collective bargaining agreement because of the cheap contracts they represent.
Fine. We'll just take one of them.
Mm-hmm. If it was 1 pick and one of those guys.
No, 2 picks. I need 2.
You have to have both picks.
I have to have both picks. I need your 18 and your 20.
The interesting thing about why those picks might be available, there's 2 things. First of all, the Knicks could care less about draft picks. They've demonstrated that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's also been documented. I think you did some of this documenting that once you get to 15, 16, it's a complete crapshoot whether a guy's going to turn out or not.
Oh, I forgot Calderon's in that trade. Although maybe he isn't now. I have to reconfigure. The heart of the trade would basically be we get rid of Rondo and Gerald Wallace and Jeff Green, and we get back Amari and whatever else makes the cap work, and then the 18 and 20 unprotected.
Would they play Rondo and Calderon at the same time?
Well, but Calderon could be a really good backup, and potentially you could play him at the same time a couple times under the right teams. Yeah, I mean he's one of the best spot up shooters in the league. Yeah,
that's true. He was very good for Dallas last year. I was honestly surprised to see Dallas get rid of him.
If I'm the Knicks, I'm kind of looking at why not try to be better this year. It's not like anyone in the East pulled away.
Something.
Who pulled away in the East?
Amari's expiring is extremely attractive.
I agree. I'm attracted to it. It's a lot of money.
Who else fits that profile for the Knicks?
What about this? What about
Rondo's stature?
What about Rondo and Gerald Wallace for the Amari expiring 18 and 20?
That's fair, I think.
That's a fair trade?
We
just made a trade. Hold on, I'm going to call Rondo.
First call Phil Jackson.
So Rondo and Gerald Wallace for the 18 and the 20, and Amari's expiring. You're in on that trade.
I'm in, for sure. Absolutely.
All right. Done.
You're
Call
a
it into
fan.
the league.
Do you feel like you're getting enough back?
I think Rondo leaves next year.
I agree with you.
At that point, you cash in that asset. And I don't think he gains trade value by February playing in a bad situation.
Yeah, that's the risk for the Celtics, right?
Right. And also has a chance to potentially undermine the situation, too. I love Rondo. And you know what? They did their best to try to go get some guys and try to win now so they could keep them. And they really thought they had a chance for Kevin Love at one point, but Flip just didn't want to make a trade before the draft. And now it turns out he made probably the right move because now he's going to get a better haul for him. But there's no guy out there to put in. They really got screwed at the lottery. That's what killed them. Getting the 6th pick instead of 1, 2, or 3 was a death blow. Yeah. Because 1, 2, or 3 was super tradable, or you just keep it and you trade Rondo at that point. But now they're in no man's land. It's depressing. Hey, we won in 08. That's more than a lot of teams can say, right?
I'm not exactly crying for you.
Well, I'm really happy that PP's on your team because you know how much I love that guy.
You love him, and I had no idea he was available. What a Saturday evening, Sunday morning that was 2 weeks ago to see that he joined our team. It was a triple E. I was ecstatic, euphoric, and jubilant.
There's one more thing you gained that you didn't even mention in how the Wizards won the summer. Andrew Sharp is back in D.C.
He is?
He moved back. I forgot to tell you.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's going to work out of Washington for us.
Oh, that's tremendous.
You get Andrew Sharp back in your life.
Buddy.
Yeah.
To go to these games. I know he can't wait to drag me along to these.
So you got Paul Pierce, DeJuan Blair. Who's the third guy? Chris Humphreys and Andrew Sharp. Congratulations. You did win this summer.
We won.
That's great. Joe House, is always a pleasure. We'll talk to you in August.
Good times.
Target percent off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Gotta say, Gola, great call on grabbing Subway for lunch and getting guacamole on our subs.
Told you this new guac really amps up the flavor.
Yep, something adding up things can be great. Guacamole on your sub, a new co-host to replace you.
What was that?
Oh, no, nothing.
Subway now has deliciously rich new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of garlic, onion, and jalapeno. Discover how new guacamole turns up the flavor on any of your freshly made favorites. Subway, eat fresh.